Tweety Eveline Navarrete. I am full-blood Navajo. I come from the Kia'ani clan, through the Klizaflana clan, and that's how I introduce myself these days, to introduce through my clans.
I'm Ross Parrott. I'm a native of Ada, Oklahoma. I've been the care coordinator here at Lakeview United Methodist Church for the last 24 years. When I started, I had blonde hair and no glasses and no hearing aids.
Hi, everyone. Reverend Annabelle. And I know you haven't seen me in a while because I've actually been on medical leave for the last 10 years. So for those of you who thought I had either already retired or in fact died, not true. I'm still alive and kicking, and we'll switch from leave to retirement at the end of June.
My name is Linda Larson. I am currently the pastor at Wilcox United Methodist Church. I've been serving here almost 2 years. And I will be 10 years into ministry, even though I'm at an advanced age.
I was working for the Board of Higher Education. The HANA Scholarship, which is Hispanic, Asian, Native American, had just begun. People had put money into that so that Hispanic students, Asian students, and Native American students can apply for a scholarship through the Board of Higher Ed, through the United Methodist Church. And so I was called to go to the Native American churches to recruit Native American students to go to school on the HANA scholarship, because a lot of Hispanics were taking advantage of it. A lot of Asian students were taking advantage. There were hardly any Native Americans, and they wanted the word to get out. And so they had asked if I would go and spent some time with the Native churches and get the word out. I would travel throughout to visit all of the Native American churches and to talk to their youth about the HANA scholarship. Well, one of the times I was in Michigan, in Upper Michigan, Leonce, Michigan, and with the Ojibwe tribe up there, and at the Indian church there, and they were having their camp meeting. And so they asked if I would come, and in that process, they had invited this native evangelist from Canada to come and do the preaching for their revival. And so every night we were at the revival, and almost the second to the last night that we were there, the evangelist asked me to come up to the stage. He was asking people who wants to prayer to come, kind of like an altar call, and asking people to come if they need prayer, if they would want him to pray with them. And he called me. He said, "Will you please come forward?" He called me by name, and the minister's wife and I started to laugh, and she's like, "You're in trouble because he's calling you forward." So I went up and stood there, and so he went around praying with all of the people who had come forward. And he got to me and he started to pray for me. He said, "I know that there's been a call on your life. There's been a call for you to be in ministry."
Yeah, my calling into ministry really was in my senior year in high school. I really wanted to do more for the Lord. I wanted to not just obey the don'ts, but have some of the do's of Christianity. And so I got to be able to make visits to other teenagers and other high school students and develop kind of a ministry in my home church. And then when I was a senior, I was scheduled to go to Oklahoma State and become an engineer when I caught an illness and was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And God began to reveal to me that he wanted me in ministry. And then I went to a youth retreat that April of my senior year. And for some reason, I just became very emotional, and God became very real to me. And I surrendered to whatever God wanted me to do. And eventually found out that through my college classes that I enjoyed counseling, I enjoyed one-on-one ministry. God began to shape what I was going to do. And then I went on to seminary in Fort Worth, Texas, and got a master's in social work as well at University of Texas at Arlington. And then came to Arizona with the Baptist Mission Board and did inner city ministry for about 14 years. I coached soccer and basketball and ran a food bank and a clothing closet and taught literacy, and eventually became a trainer for the whole state of Arizona for Baptist churches to start social ministries of various types. And then that position closed out in 1990, and I just began to search for what God wanted me to do next. Had gone through a divorce, so was not really eligible for pastoring in the Baptist church any longer. And so I went to work as a social worker in Sun City, and then became a social services director at a skilled nursing facility. Then a Catholic social worker that was a friend of mine working at a Presbyterian church recommended me, still a Southern Baptist, to a United Methodist church. So it was kind of around the world that I was able to come here. And when I started working and being able to witness to people as well as help them and counsel them, it was like, that's what I was called to do when I was 18 years old.
Well, it surprised me, probably more than it surprised other people. That I know is true from talking to some folks. I was actually a single mom of 3 kids. I had just graduated from Hamlin University, a lovely little Methodist school in St. Paul, Minnesota, with a degree in chemistry. So I was here. I moved to Arizona to work on my PhD in chemistry at ASU. And that's what I was doing, minding my own business, I might add. My family and I were part of First Tempe, so they are officially my home church. Yay. It was kind of wild and crazy. I did some stuff, I would do children's time every once in a while. I would do all kinds of stuff, whatever needed doing. And one Sunday was United Methodist Women's Sunday. So women were doing everything. And so I was invited to be the person to take the offering from the ushers and say the prayer of dedication, something I had done more than once. And this time, when I took the plates and turned around to offer the prayer, it was extremely weird. There was a light. There was a sound of rushing wind. God apparently is really popular, really fond of that one. And I mumbled something and put the plates down before I dropped them, and went back around the altar to sit down and tell myself that it had never happened and I didn't need to worry about it. And that worked for about 3 days until I no longer knew what my research was about. Neither did anyone else. A job that I was supposed to have gotten that would have paid me a little more than a TA went to someone else. And I'm like, okay, this is not funny. And so I went on with my life, kind of thinking about what to do next. And it got to be summertime, and the United Methodist women were all meeting together. And so I hitched a ride with a pastor who was going, the associate from First Tempe, Gary Kennedy. You can blame all of this on him. We were riding in his pickup truck, and I said, I need to talk to you about something. And he said, okay, about what? And I said, about me and the ministry. And he blew the whole thing and said, I think you'd be really good. I'm like, no, wrong answer. But there we were. And then he made me go talk to the senior pastor, who was Jim Standiford at the time, a wonderful fellow who was just so welcoming and so easy to talk to. And we sort of started. And so I did all the stuff that one does, and I started taking Claremont classes at First Tempe, because there was a professor who would come. We'd have like one class at a time. We'd take turns picking whoever up at the airport and bringing them over and taking them back. And I took a lot of classes that way while I was still, working on other stuff during the day, which got a little head banging every once in a while. And then I ran out of real estate, and there were no more classes to take at ASU, so I had to make a decision. And so I withdrew from my program at ASU and started doing what we referred to as the Rhodes Scholar thing, where we would fly over to Claremont for 2 days We'd fly in a dark 30 in the morning and take classes all day and spend the night. Jane Tews was my mentor for the candidacy process. I remember the day I really knew what was up, because she said to me, why do you need to be in the ministry? You're a very involved lay person now. Why do you need to change that? And without even thinking about it, the words just popped out of my mouth. There isn't enough time. There just wasn't enough time in the world for me to do all those things. I needed to be where I had been called to be. And so we went there, and the rest is kind of history.
Well, when I was a small child, my mother was a widow, so she wasn't home a lot. And I was raised primarily by my Methodist grandmother. As a small child, even she read the Bible to me every day. She taught me the Lord's Prayer. And then one evening I had a vision. It was a scary vision, but in that vision, I heard the words of the Lord's Prayer. I was only 5 years old, and yet I felt that vision was calling me to some kind of special purpose to serve the Lord. And so I never lost that calling, but yet when I got to be college age and asked about applying for seminary, back in those days I was told I was not eligible because I was a woman. But that never made the call go away. I worked at so many jobs in different fields, and I was a prison counselor for a while. Ended up, though, working mostly in the financial industry, and I hated it. I prayed very heartily, please, Lord, take me out of this industry and let me serve you. I got sick, very sick. And it ended up that I had a neurological disorder. I ended up not working for a very long time. And then one day, thinking my life was over, my pastor said to me, you know, you can still become a pastor if you're still called to do that. And I said, I am, but I'm old. And he said, that doesn't matter. You can go into ministry and still serve the Lord and follow that call. And so that's why at 72, I am still looking forward to continuing in ministry.
I look forward to serving in another church at some point. And I've had a couple of calls from people that want some help building their Stephen ministry. I also still have skills in helping churches develop a weekday ministry with senior adults, as well as, doing mission work. I've taken several groups to Rocky Point, built houses down there, and through the One Mission program that was based out of Spirit of Hope, where my friend Mike Iyer has organized that. Anyway, lots of things that are going on. I want to have some time off this summer and then begin praying next fall about where God would lead me to work as a volunteer. And so I'm excited about what God's going to lead me to do. He's never left me without something to do throughout my entire life.
It's been an adventure, I won't lie. For the first couple 3 years after I went out on disability, I was honestly basically living in my bed. I have ankylosing spondylitis. The bones in your spine rearrange themselves. I may do some traveling. I'm not going to be, floating down the French Riviera in retirement, but I'm not going to be eating cat food either. So I'd say we're probably good. And whatever happens next, happens next.
My district superintendent has indicated that I will be continuing next year to serve in Wilcox. Beyond that, of course, there are no guarantees. But yes, I do plan to continue to serve. I have no desire to do anything else, really.